All right, do I have audio? I'm not hearing any response, so I don't know if I have any audio. Do I have any audio?
Got audio.
Oh, I got audio. All right,
You have a
good.
signal.
I had to, I've been doing a lot of computer adjustments on this last trip to Europe that I just got back from last night. So woke up very early this morning. Very good. Let me get the wait for a minute for folks to roll in, and we'll get going. Very full agenda as we're going to have for every one of these meetings for quite a while, I think. Let me get the right page up. That would be this one. No, it would not be that one. Okay, one more second. We got to go to step 29. All right. There we go. All right. It's 3 minutes after. Let's and Carly's here, so now we can get going. Oh, and Jonathan's in London this week. Okay. I'm going to share my screen here and get this. Rearrange windows as you have to do every time you share your screen. And get the zoom up. Chat. Okay. All right, welcome everyone to our November 12th meeting of the Decentralized Trust Graph Working Group. Apologize for the fact that we were not able to meet last week due to a conflict with the workshop that we ended up having with Affinity, the Affinity team in Berlin. It just was longer, and there were folks that had to come in and out during that whole thing. So we, again, I apologize for that cancellation, but we're going to address that in a couple ways that are on the agenda here today. So first, as always, we share our antitrust policy notice for everyone that is part of either any Linux Foundation events, both Trust RIP and DIF members. The next thing we'll do is just check and see, are there any new members of the task force, I mean of the working group, that would like to do a short introduction? It's a long list today. I can't actually can't get the whole thing on one screen here right now. So very full crowd. Is there anyone who would like to do it now? You're welcome to do an audio introduction, a brief one, or put some background information into the chat. And then we also have for this working group, I'm showing it here, and I will copy the link we call the bio page. If you want to put a brief background and any links into your bio page, I should put put this in the chat. You are most welcome to do that too, and that of course will persist for all of our meetings. So is there anyone who'd like to an introduction? Oops, let's see, it's this one. It's new to the task force. Oh, Greg, go ahead.
Hi, Greg Bernstein. Just found out about the project and been working on verifiable credentials and particularly privacy issues, and working on BBS over at the CFRG. So kind of working some of the cryptography, translating the cryptography into standards work. So kind of working with DIF on BBS and the IETF, and over on the verifiable credential side at the W3C. Good to meet you. Hopefully this will work. This seems very exciting.
And the ZKP piece of what we're doing, Greg, is particularly exciting.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. So,
We're
uh,
in the middle of all that. We want to make this all work.
yeah, that's right. That's right. That's fantastic. Very, very glad to have you here. Um, all right. Just quickly checking. Anyone else who wants to do an intro that hasn't done that before? And thank you, Fabrice. You've put something in the chat, so that's
Oh, I had a question for Greg. Are you a member of Trust Over IP?
I am a member of DIF.
yes.
I am a member of the Linux Foundation, but I wasn't quite sure what I need to do, if I need to do something special to get over on Trust over IP or on the first
Both.
person project. So if there's any other extra things I need to do, let me know. I'm an invited expert at the W3C too, but if Trust over IP requires another thing, just let me know.
No, this is a joint working group of Trust RP and Diff. So if
Okay.
you're a Diff member, you're welcome
Diff.
here.
Okay.
Yep, that's super. The first person project is an independent effort that we're doing all of our standards work for the first person project here. We're one of the promoters of starting this working group. So for anyone who's interested in that, wants to join the mailing list, I think that's it. Yes, I just put a link to that in the chat. And Stephen Vinkath, great. Thank you for adding something there in the chat. That's super. And again, feel free to use that bio page if you want to put any background information there. All right. So we have, I'm going to do a quick agenda review here. Actually, I'll hit the update button just so you can see a little bit more of the screen here. So today, oh, it's fantastic. Someone's already, uh, oh, so this is what the thing I love about the wiki is folks can help with note taking. Anyway, we have one quick thing about co-chairs and then our two main topics. Scott Perry and Nikki Hickman will present on some early work they've done with their task force, the Risk Assessment and Harms Prevention Task Force. And then the balance of the meeting we want to spend having Brendan Miller and Alberto Leon from the Harvard Applied Social Media Lab go into detail about the write-ups on verifiable relationship credentials based on the sessions they held at IAW. So very full agenda. Are there any revisions or additions to the agenda that anyone wants to propose before we dive into all this? All right, we quickly have time for, are there any announcements that folks want to share of general interest to everyone? As long as you keep it brief, of course, you can always put it in the chat as well. Go ahead, Riza.
Yeah, on the 20th, there's the symposium, 19th and 20th. I guess you're going to announce that already, but
No, that's perfect. Go ahead.
we are hoping to speak on the 20th. I'd love to get more clarity on what the slots are so we can herd the cats to provide some speaking there. That's one thing, and then briefly other thing. Kwai's having its holiday party in Los Angeles, in California, December 18. So hit me up if anyone's interested in participating. It's
No,
at the legendary Sound City studio, which has been donated to us, and there'll be a surprise celebrity guest entertainment. Okay,
holiday party in
in
in LA on
LA.
what date?
December 18, Thursday. It's a Thursday evening.
Okay, great. If folks are interested, maybe put in the chat how they could reach you to check
Fantastic. Will
into
do.
that. That'd be super. Okay. Um, any other announcements? I will say very briefly, because it's very high level, that the final meeting I had with the 5 cities that I visited in Europe on this trip was with a fellow Leif Johansson. Some of you might know him. He's one of the OGs of the digital identity space. has been very, very involved all the way back from the days of SAML, OpenID. And he's now going to become, in January, he's going to become, I think it's CTO of the Ciros project, siros.org. I'll put that in the chat, Ciros. And the reason this is important to Greg's point is Ciros, we found out at IAW, they presented there. It's a Swedish nonprofit foundation funded by Stina Eresvard from her winnings from Yubico going public in 2023, and they're the folks behind the Dub wallet, and they are committed to supporting ZKP and to helping drive to convergence on the ZKP that will be needed, that the EU Digital Wallets Initiative needs. And so Leaf, who has a lot of experience, he's chaired like 4 different ITF working groups, is helping put together an ITF working group on ZKP. And just, it was a state-of-the-art conversation about where it's at. I have a link. I won't bring it up right now. I'll wait and post it after we get to the other talks here, but I will post a link to this new ITF mailing list in preparation for that working group. It's just starts called ZIP. ZKP in practice, what it stands for. So anyway, anyone interested in the ZKP aspects of what we're doing, that would be a list to join. So that's all I have. Riza, your hand is still up. Is that just a holdover? Yeah, no problem. Okay. All right. Whoops, I was putting these up in the. Yeah, that's cool. Thank you, Stephen. All right. Brief review of the action items. Again, I'm going to make this screen bigger so that while I'm still in edit mode, you can actually see what all these things say. Jeff Turk and I did create the page for our the wiki page. Any task force, our only requirement is there's a wiki page that's created for it. So I will show you that one right here. It is the Credentials Task Force wiki page. Anyone who wants to, when you're creating a task force, you can just copy any of the others. It's a very easy format. There's a link to that page. So that was that first action item there. I've not created the second one yet. We'll hold that one over. We do have, we've also created a new channel on our Discord for that task force. Every task force can have a wiki channel if it wants one. And then we put this, Brendan and Alberto are going to talk about their write-ups here today. And I have not done this action item yet. I've started investigating, but I'm going to carry that one forward too. So our next agenda item is a very simple one. Because of the problem last week, because I was currently the only chair, she has volunteered to serve as a co-chair of this group. Nikki, anything you want to say about that?
No, just I get a sense that we need to get quite a lot done quite quickly, and it seems unfair that you're doing it all on your own. So I'll just support in the background.
Well, deeply appreciated. Folks don't know, I consider Nikki to be another one of the OGs in the space, and she's a fantastic contributor to work like this. So it would be a great pleasure. And by the way, we're not limited to 2 co-chairs. Anyone else who's really interested in leaning into this work, some of the other Trusted IP working groups have tri or quad chairs to just put up the work. So if you're interested in that, let us know. Otherwise, thank you, Nikki, very much for volunteering for that. At which point, I'm going to turn it over now to you and Scott for your report on risk assessments and harm prevention and this diagram that you've added. Do you, I can share this, or you can share a larger version of it, you or Scott. What do you want to do?
Yeah, if I share the Miro board, then we can actually change things on it as we go along. Scott, do you want to sort of introduce why we did this to kind of help it with the scoping? And
Sure,
whilst I look
sure.
this up.
Yeah, so, we did an exercise initially a couple weeks ago on trying to define, as part of the risk assessment, we wanted to identify what the scope is. And this got into a more deep discussion with Nikki, and Nikki brought, a lot of experience from doing a risk assessment on the Yoma project. And this is kind of how this diagram kind of evolved. And I think it serves a lot of purposes. It's one slide that kind of puts all of the scope of what we're doing specifically in our standards development organization, Trust Over IP, together. It also identifies components, as it relates to uh, all of the things, the personal side of it, the organizational and the community side. I have to step away for a minute, and then so maybe you can kind of go over it. I'll be back in a minute, okay?
Okay, no worries. So, yeah, the way we used it in Yoma, where we were scoping a governance framework, was to describe the ecosystem and what was in scope and out of scope. And then we were able to overlay the trust over IP layers onto that and also consider it against the three stacks. I'll be bold here and say we've got technology, governance, and the kind of human experience factors. But in this project, what we've tried to do here is, first of all, build on what we learned in Yoma, thinking maybe that we could lift and shift some aspects of the risk assessment. For example, issuer risks, governance authority risks, they're not going to change very much between ecosystems, and therefore focus our time on the risks and harms that arise out of the new stuff. So that's the thinking behind kind of mirroring the community level. And this is the scope as of we think of the working group. And this is the kind of components or and items that are in the kind of personal decentralized trust graph kit. What do I need to participate as an individual? So I'll just kind of pause there. Any kind of thoughts or questions initially in terms of what's there and, maybe what's missing, what shouldn't be there, and of course, specifically about the scope of the working group.
So, one of the things I can supplement to that is, I think Drummond has alluded to the first person project, and then it said, well, that's not actually, we're not developing a governance framework of the first person project in the scope of this working group, and that's how that's depicted here. So the scope of what we're doing is creating what I'd say is a toolkit for decentralized trust graphs that can be reused and applied and done by governance ecosystems that elect to create, a governance framework like the first person project. So the first person project would create all of the things within the yellow, oval here, and would derive a lot of material from the purple and the green, spaces here. so they don't have to, invent that. However, first person project, which is very specific to a certain set of credentials and a certain set of governance roles, will develop its own aspects within, all of these items that are outside the green and purple, areas. And so what this diagram is trying to explain is trying to focus on the scope of what we're doing and the scope of what others would do. So
Scott, I
the
noticed Reza has his hand raised.
yeah.
Unmute. There we go. I'm trying to find where I exist, where my personal data exists in this ecosystem, and where I don't know. I'm just trying to navigate through this. So help explain there and how initiatives like GliaNet, which looks and smells like a certificate authority, where DocSearl's initiative like My Terms, where all these fit in the ecosystem. Just help us navigate through that.
Yeah, well, I mean, my view is that those are ecosystems similar to the yellow box. Um, they would derive, credentials and and items that are in the green box. Okay, so you bring your credentials, the storage of credentials, your keys, how you have laid out your graph. Okay, and these ecosystems would say, okay, we have a variety of people that have these green areas in. How do we tie them in to a governance framework for usage for your defined purpose, GliaNet or whatever? So GliaNet has to have some kind of boundaries and definition of what it is so that people can elect to participate in that and be held accountable under its rules. And that would be developed in the yellow boxes. But what we're trying to do here in depicting and focusing on the scope is what are the aspects that need to be done for all of these ecosystems? And certainly our group is I'd say we're focusing on the purple boxes,
Okay.
around these shared components that GliaNet or First Person Project or all these things could use and derive from so that we have consistency. We need to have consistency in the green and the purple boxes so that we have interoperability between all of these, right? If we don't, then we're going to get into silos that will restrict interoperability, So we all need to, come together with certain commonality in those boxes so that the yellow boxes can take advantage of them and for the benefit of people can be interoperable between first person and GliaNet and other places that are trying to use these components interoperably.
So Drummond has his hand raised.
Two quick notes. First, to answer one of Riza's questions, my terms, the IEEE 7012 standard that Docs Rules and Customer Commons is promoting, would specifically fit as a set of terms. Now, whether it should be called out as a separate box in terms of being identified as a component is another question. But I was just going to say it fits in the use of verifiable relationship credentials. We see it as being part of the protocol of negotiating, instantiating a verifiable relationship.
But I think Riza has an important point. Is there another box in the green box that's my terms? So I'm asserting my policy, my governance terms, because at the
Yes.
moment it's all about my data. So Should we put
Yeah,
another box in there?
I would be happy to do that. I bet
It,
again,
it, it might not be the my term standards, but it's like my policy, personal policies.
yeah, personal policies.
Fantastic. Okay.
Yeah, that's one piece of it. The other comment I was going to make very quickly is the the personal DTG tech kit. I like that a lot with first person, and even the yellow box suggests that you also have I guess if you're going to call it a tech kit for trust communities. So and they need there's a big overlap with what individuals need, but there are also capabilities that communities will need. And so we are constantly talking about, well, in first person, we use the term personal network managers and community network managers. So I'm not quite sure how to depict that. I just wanted to bring that up as a, um,
Well, I think the purple box is the tech is an additional tech kit, obviously, that has, these core repeatable components. So you can see that in the purple box, we do not have a governance framework. We, I believe, in our working group need to identify requirements that can be used within yellow box governance frameworks as they see fit.
yeah, exactly. I was coming more on the a parallel to the personal network manager with the green box that is the community network manager. And the interesting thing, Nikki, as you're trying to do this in real time, is there is a fair amount of overlap between those two. There might be it'd take us a little time to do it, but we could, form two boxes and show the overlap as they both involve personal credentials and verifiable relationship credentials, but they have some differences in terms of, yeah, they're sort of the community network manager is a superset of what's in the personal network manager. It adds some functions that communities need. But I'm in awe of the fact you're trying to edit this in real time. That's all I had.
Great. So this is all to be done. We'll put a little note on there.
There you go. I love Miro.
Okay. Reza.
I'll lower my hand. I think Drummond's point answered the question, and then I'll let the conversation flow a bit more.
Okay. Any other things that are missing or shouldn't be there?
Okay, I'm gonna put my hand up again. Apologies. So one of the things we try and protect is our own personal data, and the guiding principle, at least at Quai, is keep your data at home, let the processing come to where the data is. So that's in the spirit of decentralization, sort of like the Napster of an AI infrastructure. Let's so when we do that, we've developed a homomorphic encryption for the for your knowledge base. Now there'll be many similar privacy preserving, data sharing, almost like a firewall in your home that would secure your data, and you can share it in a privacy preserving manner. Now, where does that fit into the ecosystem? It, for
Yeah, I would
preserve?
suggest that we've got, instead of wallets, we've put credential storage, and
Right.
maybe there's another box that says data storage.
Yeah. I
Okay.
I think that's a very real use case. Your own communications data, your own healthcare data, your own financial data, that's intensely private. And the current centralized systems require you to send all that data up to their clouds, and they say, "Trust me, we won't divulge that." And no, I prefer to keep it under my control, but there isn't yet the infrastructure to do that. So that I think is one of the things I was hoping to get out of this group.
Okay. Any other thoughts or comments, Drummond?
Yeah, I just want to quickly say, yes, that is a really good point. Of course, there are whole efforts like solid pods, or I think they're calling them wallets now, um, to handle that piece of it. So we don't necessarily have to create that; we just have to integrate it. I was going to say, I thought, Riza, what you were going to mention is there's no explicit box for AI agents anywhere.
They're logical things.
Logical things, of course. Maybe logical thing in friends, e.g. AI agents. Just so
Well, we
yeah,
had AI, but that's where it went. So there you go.
no, it's good.
There are
I
other
recognize that
types
now.
of logical thing,
Yes.
like model weights,
Yeah.
for example.
Okay.
Stephen.
Yeah, I just want to break in here. I may want to go with Nikki on this one, sort of put it aside for right now, because I think the definition of what an agent is very much in flux. And as a result, identifying them within this document will actually make it less rigorous.
Mm.
I'm working on a taxonomy of agent systems to try and clarify all of this so that they can actually be put in a box and addressed as specific things. But we are not there at all, and the industry is sloppy as hell. So I want to go with Nikki on this one and just kind of put it off a bit.
Totally agreed.
Yeah, and of course, most logical things are connected to a physical thing, and run on a physical thing. And when we're thinking about trustworthy digital supply chains, we need to consider them very carefully. But the next stage in this process is to start defining those entities and coming together in terms of what we mean by the terms that are on there. And we've got an excellent starting point with the Trust over IP glossary, the IOMA glossary, and of course the glossary of terms in the first person white paper. And the aim with this exercise is there's a bunch of stuff that we don't need to redo. We could take the risk assessments that are part of the governance frameworks for example, IOMA and Life and others that may have been written, and just use the tools to determine what's new here, and what do we really need to focus our attention on in terms of new risks. How does it change the landscape on risks that are documented in those ecosystems? So hopefully it'll be a way of saving time.
Love it. Love it. Um, Nikki, Scott, is there anything else you want to share about this, or should we switch over to Brendan and Alberto for a deep dive into VRCs?
Yeah, I mean, I think we presented it. I'd say people take a look at it, and if we can make it available, I think we will, and make some comments. Next week, within the risk assessment, we're gonna dive into example risks and try to triage what would be, a risk that makes that would be in scope for the purple box, which is where we're going to focus the risk assessment. Okay.
That sounds great. All right, I'll note the action item, and there is we put a link to this Miro board in the chat. It will also be in the it's already on the meeting notes page. All right, thank you both very much for preparing that. And now, Brendan and Alberto, over to you to talk about your write-up on the VRCs.
Sure. Thanks, Drummond, and good to have you all here and to talk about this. The work that we've done to date is really just a community service of listening. This should be based on consistent with the white paper, conversations with Drummond. We saw that Jeff Turk had a initial draft spec that he had written, and then various conversations at the IIW. So this is very early. And I'll just also mention that Alberto and I are primarily builders, so we're trying to use to build something using VRC specs for in the fourth quarter. So that is our hope. And so we're got into this in an effort to get some more clarity on what these will look like and to be as aligned as possible. So very grateful for your expertise and seeing if we can move this, towards consensus as quickly as possible. So not a lot of ego invested in any formulations here, just trying to move the conversation forward. And I think the other thing to say is we're with the social media lab at Harvard, so our lens is very much social media focused. So I'm very aware that the VRCs are used in a lot of different relationships, business to business, et cetera. So there may be some oversights that come from where we sit in that ecosystem. So I think Drummond put in the notes the new repo that Jeff created, and thanks for that. So this is on a branch there. You can find it if you want to take a look. Drummond, were you going to also create a discussion for follow-up on these sorts of things?
I was, and I started some notes on that on my very long flight back from Stockholm yesterday, but I didn't complete it, so I didn't have a chance. So I just was going to say after you're done and we take a look at this, I think I love GitHub discussions as you know they're really good. They're frankly better than things like Google Docs for really diving down into issues. I mean, really before you get to the specific issue stage. Obviously, if there's a specific issue, use issues, but discussions are even broader. So anyway, I'll just put in a plug for doing that. I'll certainly after today, later this week, I'll get discussion started on a couple of the questions that come up. But go ahead.
Great, thank you. Yeah. So yeah, would love to have discussions attached to this repo for the persistence and so on beyond this meeting, of course. So the verifiable relationship credentials, you'll see a couple different types of credentials here. One of the things that was discussed at IIW is the importance of or the value of decomposing things as much as possible so that people can choose what to share when. So some of this decomposition is related to that. We'll get into that. There's also witnessed credentials. So that was something that we discussed at the IIW, that in the context of a trust community, having a formal witness, sort of like a notary, if you will, someone with delegated authority from the trust community to witness the formation of relationship credentials can strengthen the trust model. So we'll mention some of that as well. In these credentials, we put a little preamble and some overview. I'm going to skip through that. That's not the important part. All of that can be changed. But I'll go right to the credential for the sake of time. So these are W3C, verifiable credentials. And so they're basing off of that. They should be consistent with it. And so it has all of the standard VC fields. So let's focus primarily on the credential subject. So there would be an ID for the VRC. And just a reminder for those who may not be familiar, these VRCs are from one person to another. So we're using the Alice and Bob. We have an example down below that we can look at. Basically, we have a from and a to. Again, we can change these names, not attached to that. There'll be a did, which would be your pairwise. It would be a pairwise did that you're using for this relationship. That allows you to, again, not disclose, prevent leakage when you'd like to. You can disclose a name. The also known as is meant to be your personas, your either public or semi-public personas that you would like to link and explicitly link to this relationship. The linkage proof and external proofs, this is something, it's a discussion whether these should be in here or not. The idea of including them is these are proofs that again are core to the relationship. So if you want to say you are also known as someone, you might want to include in here the proof that you control the keys that are linked with that persona, for example. The nonce might be important for the witnessing. So if you have a witness, I'll talk more about that later, but you'll have some kind of session which is being coordinated, and the nonces will help to, to orchestrate that. So just like we have the from, we also have a to, and again, you can choose to link to certain public or semi-public personas. Relationship type, maybe this is a kind of a dictionary. Maybe there are standard relationship types that get formalized. So that could be something that goes in here. A start date and an end date for the relationship. Again, maybe there's no end date, it's possibly ongoing. And as I mentioned, the session information would be optional if you want to have a witness. So that's the kind of core here. Very basic. One thing also to say is that at least in the conversations we were a part of, that specific endorsement. Like if I were to say, I've worked with Alberto for 4 years, that's a relationship credential. But if I say he was excellent at X, Y, and Z, those kind of claims about Alberto in the context of relationship would be separate. So the idea would be that endorsements would be separate from the core relationship credential itself. So that is the basics of it. It's not very complicated. I can pause there if there's any comments on this. If you scroll down, maybe I'll just go to the example. We did try to put some definitions here and to say what's required and what's optional. This just mirrors the above. Again, all of this the description can be improved, but just to make it a little bit more clear, this is from Alice to Bob, saying Bob was a coworker, a description, plain language description. And here again from Alice, her VRC with this person. She's choosing to disclose certain identifiers, and she'll have linkage proofs for those if she chooses so. The nonce, if there's a session. To Bob, this is again Bob's pairwise did personas that may be relevant to this relationship. And then again, maybe you have a relation type, maybe there's a schema for coworker, this kind of thing, and some session information, and then of course the proof. So I'll just pause there if there's anything on this as a starting point, as the kind of the core credential, if you will.
You're looking for any real-time feedback right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I don't want to, if there's anything that should I just continue and do an overview and kind of save it for the end? What do you think, John?
No, it's a great question. I know you're going to cover each of the different credentials. I was just going to say, anyone who has quick feedback or a question for Brendan and Alberto, go ahead and shoot. Marcus has already got his hand up, and Riza. That I think it's great. And however, we'll run out of time, I guarantee, on this topic. This is the whole point of this task force. So we can always continue these discussions, but it's good to raise, like, what are the best things to discuss? So Marcus, go ahead.
Yes, I think this looks really good. I have a few technical comments or some feedback, but those may need more time. So I wonder if I should summarize some thoughts now, or rather raise issues on the repository. What's better?
Well, definitely go ahead and raise issues or discussions. But if there's one that you think is a good point to bring up that's meaty that you want to bring up right now, go ahead.
Okay. I wonder a bit what's the credential subject, and perhaps the ID of the subject is either the from did or the to did, or is it an identifier of the relationship itself, right? What exactly is the subject here?
Yeah, I think it's the and Drummond, tell me if you see it differently. It's the relationship itself as stated from one person to another. So in this, it would be, Alice stating that Bob was her coworker. And so
Right.
it would
And
be that relationship from the perspective of Alice.
I am happy to say that because this ended up being a long discussion at the Affinity Workshop this last week, let's take that. Marcus, if you would be so kind as to start a discussion around VRC credential subject. We could definitely spend the whole rest of this call discussing it because there are a couple different points of view on that. And let's say, okay, good. Discussion topic number one, credential subject. Yeah, it's a good one. So we make sure we get to these. Let's go ahead and Riza, go ahead.
Very briefly, how stable is this? Is this solid? Because I've been looking for a protocol like this for our decentralized fabric to the peer-to-peer relationships, the relationships between existing peers. I wanted to elevate it from the very naive metadata that's exchanged between the two and exposed. Is this something we can start using now in our development, or is it still fluid?
I would say super fluid. This group is the group that I believe will be formalizing it, and this is the very first draft that's been written down. I think Jeff, that's incorrect. Jeff had one that he wrote down. It wouldn't be in this repo. So Drummond, do you see that any differently?
Sorry, Drummond,
Go
just
ahead.
one thing I want to say really quickly. As Brandon mentioned at the beginning, we are builders. So we're trying to create this first version of the spec. We're planning to implement it within bifold from the Open Wallet Foundation fork. So and try to test, how well this performs while receiving feedback, of course, from this community. Just a quick side note on that.
And that's an important one. I would reason you can always I mean it's a lot better than starting from scratch, but it is very early. And so I would add just this comment that I'd hope that we put a bunch of attention on this such that prior to the holidays, and I'm talking about the Christmas holidays, not the Thanksgiving holidays, we have advanced to a point where we've made, we have a closer to consensus on a straw man. But it is still early. I do know at least one team unnamed that just said, "Hey, this is good enough. We're going to go implement it now." So it's really up to you, but it is still early. Okay, so next we have two hands up. Michael, you're next.
So this is the first principles question. First of all, I like the fact that you have different types of credentials here. This is really important. Going back to the white paper, it describes PC or person PHC as a link between the issuer and the holder, which is in fact a relationship. So rather than have PHCs, why can't that be just another category of relationship credential?
Bingo, Michael, you've just hit another discussion that I think we should definitely have. In fact, Nick, if you're taking notes, I will put my hand up to say I'll start that one because you have a very valid point. It's come up a number of times, and something tells me that could absolutely be the case. That because you have you highlighted the relationship type, that it could be a relationship type. What we need to do, in my opinion, is we also need to basically go through the requirements for PHC's credentials. The 63-page paper about that would be a good starting point. Yeah,
Well,
yeah, for that one.
just another footnote on that is I've raised questions on the mailing list about the scalability of the whole FPP, scalability downwards to, let's say, just a group of 2 people or a group of 3 people. And by creating a more homogeneous, heterogeneous credential type, can actually make the scaling down problem a lot easier, where you don't have a predefined overlord that's issuing PHCs.
Sure, that would be a good part of that discussion. Yep, each of these very rich topic. All right, just we'll go ahead now to Brian.
Yes, I was wondering if there might be the possibility of nesting these credentials. In particular, the problem I see here is in the example given, Alice was asserting a relationship with Bob, and it was potentially witnessed by someone else. And you don't want Alice to be asserting the witness, you want the witness to be asserting. So that to me would be another relationship where that person was the issuer and said, I witnessed the following relationship.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so again, folks at IIW were thinking that that should be a separate linking credential rather than embedded, because that
Yeah,
allows them to be presented separately. So
yeah.
I'll just show
And
that
that
again.
also solves the problem of multiple people witnessing.
Correct, correct. And this is just what it looks like from the perspective of a witness. I know I'm jumping ahead. We haven't really talked about the witness process, but the witness also has a description, maybe a public persona. We have session information. They can set a start time and a possible expiration for time for the session to be completed. They have an authorization from some trust community, again, whatever that might be, and then they say what they witnessed. So they will link the VRC credentials that they witnessed, and of course, different witnesses could have do their own witnessing. So there could be more than one.
Excellent.
So just again, I'm trying to give a high level overview. We can, very excited for all the discussion. One that I feel is more shaky. We didn't discuss this in detail, but just wanted to put something of what an endorsement credential would look like. So this is when I make a specific claim about someone else. So this, could be, again, you link to the relationship credential. So the relationship must exist first, that VRC connection. And then you identify yourself as an endorser, and then the endorsed, and then the endorsement claims. And so one important thing that was discussed is that these claims might be machine readable. And again, maybe there needs to be a typology of those. Or maybe they're freeform and I'm just, kind of entering some text. So that's an endorsement credential. I won't spend a lot of time on that. I will just say that this is probably received the least discussion, at least in conversations that I've been in. So there's probably a lot of work and ways to improve that. I'll also mention that we talked about relationship cards. So the idea, again, just a reminder, is once you have the VRC exchange, then you choose what to disclose about yourself. So that's sort of like once we say, yes, we have a relationship and I hand you my business card, um, uh, um, uh, then I'm giving you a representation of myself. So some of the things that were important there, folks thought that we shouldn't recreate the wheel. There are things that already exist, like a J card, similar to a V card, with kind of information about address and email and so on. So the thought was that this could kind of mirror, again, you would link to a certain relationship. So you would provide a link to that credential that's already formed. And then the J card would be an array of different things. I'm going to disclose my name. I'm going to disclose an email address, etc. And so this is, again, just a very early idea that could leverage some existing standards. I'm sure, again, there's a lot of discussion that's needed there, but at least I'm just trying to reflect the discussion that was had so far, that we should try to make use of existing standards. I did want to also just say, with the last couple of minutes, there is another document in here, which is not a credential spec, but a flow spec. And this is trying to describe what this witnessed session-based VRC exchange would look like. So again, this is let's take an event. Let's say we're all at the IIW conference. Let's say we all have or workshop. We all have a credential from the IIW as attendees that we received, and so then there's some kind of witness. And something important to note here is that this witness might be a person, or it might be an agent or a bot. So one fun idea that we've been playing around with is sort of the anti-orb. So you're not scanning your retina and sending it to a centralized database. Instead, you have a trustworthy witness who can observe events happening in a certain context. So at that event, maybe there's a bot in the space on the Wi-Fi network that can verify these check-ins or these selfies that people are forming together to increase trust within that community. And so, just very briefly, I'll just do the high levels of this, and there seemed to be pretty good agreement so far about that. This seemed like a reasonable flow. Again, everything can be changed, but it was good that there was some support for this. So a session creation, Alice or Bob requests of the witness to create a session. The witness agrees basically and opens the session. And then basically within that is the standard credential creation and signing that's in the first person project white paper. So Bob generates for Alice, Ella generates for Bob, and they're sending information to the witness as well. So they're seeing what's happening in real time. So they can observe that, and they will then sign and say, yes, this happened in my presence, and the credentials are distributed and verified. So I just wanted to give a very high-level overview to what's in this repo so far. Again, very interested in all of your feedback. I see tons of comments in the meeting chat, which I can't follow. So I really encourage you to put those in the repo so they don't get lost. And I'm very also happy for collaborators. Nikki's stepping up to partner with Drummond. I don't really see myself as, and I don't think Alberto does either, of being the chairperson of this committee necessarily, of the BRC formation effort. So folks who have a lot of standard experience and want to be involved, let's get into it.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much, Brendan. I think everyone on this call can see that VRCs, they've always been sort of the exciting beating heart of this whole thing. A huge thanks to Brendan and Alberto for leading those sessions at IW. They're very well attended, very exciting, great feedback. This is the reason that we need to have a credentials task force. Even though we said it's async at the start, we're actually probably going to need to set up separate calls just for that, because there is other things on our plate, but we're not going to worry about that right away. So the two things I want to, as everyone's getting ready to leave for the next calls, one, I put another link in. Please feel free to start a discussion or raise an issue in that repo. That's going to be our primary place for discussing these things. We do have Discord, and we created a channel for the credentials task force there. So you can also, if you put something important in the repo, just make a note. Hey, go take a look at it, put a link into it there so we can get this asynchronous dialogue going on. That's how we can proceed quickly. And on that note, I need to say we have a problem next week because the Trust Review Forum, symposium is next Wednesday. And no, Tuesday, is it Wednesday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Wednesday? Carly here. It is the 19th and 20th. So it is Wednesday and Thursday, and we start at like 7:30 on a Wednesday. So we're going to have to skip a week on that. But of course, I encourage everyone to go to the forum. We are going to have at least 2 talks that are going to touch on our work here. There's going to be a first-person project talk and then one on DIDS. But I'd say many of the talks will be relevant. So please look at attending that. So we will not be holding this call next week, but we will be having it the following week. It'll be the day before US Thanksgiving. Perfect time for all of us to just put our heads in all this before we go stuff ourselves with turkey. And with that, I thank everyone. I'm just super happy to be back on this and super happy. Thank you, Nikki, for jumping in. So we won't have to miss any more meetings because of travel. And again, thanks everyone. And looking forward to carrying this on. Asynchronously jump into that GitHub repo. Let's make it happen there. And with that, on to your next call. Thank you all very much. Save chat for the notes.